good right now for that. But if you say you got nothing, you can log into it and look. The one thing they can't do it, we're just working with a customer. We just refrigerated truck, and you have to use our Wi-Fi offload. Just Wi-Fi offload working properly. Because I think we missed the 7.4 update. What we're going to do is we're actually, I think, myself, we're going to pick it up. We're going to put it someplace, work with China to get that working. So as far as the advanced features, I gotta tell you no. We want just basic recording, pull the drive out, put it in that we get. These have the little 2.5 inch. You do? Send me an email. Send me an email with the exact requirements you're looking for. Send me again. Resend it. All right? Because the product manager is actually losing on allowance. I talk to him a lot. We just had another, I don't know if we do another customer together. We can help control the order. Got this point. 3 weeks ago. Yeah, the stuff you were looking for, we just couldn't do at the theory, no problem. Sometimes you get a problem. That's no problem. Again, I might right now, I'll get one. I don't have a rope off the top of my head. It runs anywhere from 500 per box. Yeah. It was a feature set. I remember. Don't know yet. I'm just looking at this show. Don't even bother. Pull that thing out in order to fit this yellow pipe, 6 inches long and about an inch wide. He says he doesn't care if we cut it open. One shot, just goes one way. He won't reset. Yeah, I can see that. They make it, it goes on the coast above the ground. Or we have to try to cut the driveway and get the thing. He's saying he don't care if you cut the driveway. I don't know. He and I have done that one time.
But now, what if he and I get, if I go back one time, we have spent the whole day there. And when I spent the day there too. And now I'm these people get damaged and really like it works. Oh, it's okay. But one never not let it go. I told the guy, 2 million. But what did I get? I have to go back.
We about ready, guys? All right, guys, we're gonna get started.
I know, you don't think we do.
All right, guys, my name is Tim Perry. I am the sales engineer in the Long Island territory, Long Island. So basically what I do is take sessions like this. I have to do walkthroughs on market products, specification of products, and advanced technical support. So when people think, what does tech support do versus what what I do. It's like regular infantry versus special forces. So I'm not the guy that's sitting around in the car all day, ready to pick up your phone call. I like to set expectations early. I'm not tech support, but for issues that go above and beyond what they attempt to solve over the phone, I'm another resource to you. I just want to set expectations accordingly. Everyone gets that, right? Right. Yes.
Okay. It's a little hard to hear what you're saying.
Okay.
I couldn't hear everything.
You sit close, too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try to talk a little louder. Okay, guys, so what I have here for you today is a plug-and-play recorder. It's an 8-channel. The nice thing about this is once you learn our menu system, we call it Program 1, Program Alt. So if you're using an 8-channel, a 16-channel, a turbo, all those things work similar in the way the menus are laid out. Okay, so I'm going to start walking through this system. Any questions, please stop me, and I'll be happy to answer them, and we'll go from there, all right? So again, this is the 7608 NI E2, I believe. This one's getting phased out. We're going to bring on the I2 series soon. Greg went over that in the catalog. But again, the menu systems are the same, so pretty straightforward. You're going to be able to work through these systems. When you purchase the system from us, there is no longer a password in that system. There's no password. Okay, that doesn't mean the password's blank. It means it doesn't work until you put a password into it. We call that secure activation. There's a very good reason for that, okay? We used to have admin12345 as our default. What happens when you have admin12345 is people don't change them, okay? There's a few ports we listen to on the internet, port 80, 10554, and 8000 with the traditional VPN setup. There's something called Hikvision we'll go over later, but if you're listening on port 8000 and you scan a block of addresses looking for that host, and you attempt admin12345, there's a good chance with the older systems you might be able to get in. So if you read an article that says Hikvision got hacked, chances are it's usually someone guessing an older default password. That's really what happened. So this is how we combat against that. We require you to put in an 8-character password at a minimum, letters and numbers, okay? All my demo systems, when you're doing your initial installations, I recommend before connecting any cameras, work on setting up the recorder first. You'll notice none of my cameras are connected right now. Everything is disconnected, okay? So, first things first, we're going to get a password in it and activate the device. I'm going to use Hike12345, keep things simple here. So I'm going to type that in. You'll see a strength meter on the right-hand side. That will not illuminate to the weak status until I reach that minimum criteria. Okay, we have that, and once I put that in, the device is activated, okay? I'm good to go. I can start my programming. So the first thing you want to know, if you'd like to use one of these little squiggly line things, you're more than welcome to. Just quickly.
And if you don't?
You can just right-click and ignore it if you want. It's just a shortcut if you want to use it or not. But basically, your first step, once you power on the system and put a password in, what do you think the first step is? Can anyone guess? Update network. Check the firmware version, right? Because it doesn't matter if you buy a piece of equipment today, next week, 6 months from now, it doesn't matter. You want to check to make sure that firmware is up to date, because you have no idea how long something sat in the warehouse for. It could have been sitting around for a while, could have collected a little bit of dust, might have an older version of firmware. So when you're starting out with a new piece of equipment, you always want to make sure it's up to date. So my first stop, I'm going to right-click. This menu system is identical across all our systems, okay? I'll select Menu, System Information, and I can determine what firmware is currently running on the system. Now, there's a website I'd like you to all write down right now. It's tech.hikvisionusa.com. Again, that's tech.hikvisionusa.com, all one word. Okay? That's a site developed by the North American Tech Support Department. Has all our firmware, all our software, all our how-tos, anything you need. There's even a little chat support option for quick questions built into that site. If you don't have that site written down and locked in your browser's bookmark,
I strongly recommend you do so. You can solve a lot of your problems by yourself without calling tech support with firmware, okay? And that brings up another item here with passwords, okay? If you lose the password to your recorder or your cameras, has anyone here done that yet?
Yeah.
Anyone done a reset yet? Is it fun? Take a little while? Yeah. It's like losing the keys to your car or your house, right? You gotta call a locksmith, or a locksmith is tech support, okay? You gotta send them a file, they'll send you a file back, you have to upload it in a certain period of time, or else it's no good. So, my advice to you, don't lose your passwords, first and foremost. If you do lose your passwords, the process to unlock is gonna take a little time. Now, if I plug in a camera into a system, it inherits the password from the NVR. That password's passed on to the camera. That means if I take a camera from this system and walk it down the block and put it in another system, what's the password on the camera? The password from the original system. So I could probably get about 30 calls a week with people that still have not grasped that concept. It's the password that belongs to the NVR sits in the camera. In the turbo world, cameras don't have passwords. They just send video. But in the IP world, cameras are like little computers and should be treated as such. Okay? Any questions so far?
One time, the hard drive goes down, and the camera can be lost.
That sounds like a unique problem. We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, we're 201.
We'll talk about it after.
Do you have USB 3 outputs or inputs yet on any of your recorders?
I think the i2 series may have that. I have to double check.
Is that on, that's not the Pro or Value series?
No. Well, actually, it's in the line, the value line. So it's like anything plug and play is considered value/value plus. It's in that line of cameras. So if you go through the catalog, everything with us is color coded. The value series is orange and green in the book. This is just splitters. So basically, yes, they belong that line. But if you have a specific requirement for it, I believe, again, the i2, i4 series.
With the password requirement, you go to a place that don't have all Hikvision cameras, and the Hikvision DVR, what's considered the password that already sent those cameras?
So if you're not using Hikvision cameras, and you're using a third-party camera, for instance, you're either using a manufacturer-specific driver, like Axis or whoever, that is going to be up to their own password standard. So they'll have a default where they'll have their way of doing it.
But it's not going to inherit the password from
No,
the site?
no. That's exclusive to it, because it's all proprietary over our 48,000.
Can we talk about brown box?
That's something you'll discuss with Greg later. This is all technical.
No, specifically to this, like the brown box, Hikvision, do they inherit the,
I work for Hikvision, I know.
Maybe. No guarantee.
Okay, so we've checked our firmware version. If we do need to do a firmware update, okay, that's generally done through a USB stick. You can do it through a laptop if you want. You can do it through our 4200 software if you want, if you're familiar with it. The easiest way is to go to tech.hikvisionusa.com, find the firmware version on that website. The website's very simple. The layout is very, very simple. It's just download firmware, NVR, DVR, what you're looking for. You're going to browse down into the particular model that you're working with and determine if there's a later version of firmware. If there is, you're going to download that. It's a zip file. If you download a file off the internet in the last 15 years, you know what a zip file is and how to extract it. If you don't, google.com. Once you've extracted that file onto your thumb drive, you would just simply insert the thumb drive into your system. You're going to go to maintenance, upgrade, and it's going to show you the content of your USB stick. So in this case, if I was upgrading the firmware on my NVR, I'm kind of particular about the way I organize my folder structure. So you'll see that as I browse through here. I'll go to my Hike directory, firmware, NVR, plug and play, E1, E2, and here's all the versions that came out since I started 3 years ago for this particular product that's sitting here on the desk. Okay, so I would just browse for the latest. Do you need all these firmware versions? No, I just haven't because I've been around a while.
Question, sorry. The equipment is sold 3-year warranty, right? What is the commitment from Hikvision to provide firmware updates
after the 2-year warranty period?
Firmware updates can be downloaded by anyone at any time on tech.hikvision.com. There's no login or...
No, I understand, but does Hikvision commit to providing firmware for more than 3 years?
They have EOL policies, standard end of life, and they, you will get a notification if you subscribe to our newsletter on certain products, so.
All right.
Any questions about doing firmware updates on the NVR?
Yeah. Is there any way to upgrade the camera connect to the,
We didn't do cameras yet,
okay.
so this is just the NVR. Yep. Okay. Same rules apply with the turbo. In the turbo world, just the actual DVR gets a firmware update. The cameras, again, you don't have to do any firmware updates with them. So that's easier for you, or you prefer to work in that world, you're more than welcome to. So, what we've done is we've made sure our firmware is up to date. One second. Once firmware is up to date on the system, after we've activated it, the next step before we plug any cameras in is we're going to get the time correct. Because when we plug cameras in, they're going to stick their time to the recorder. So before we do that, before we introduce the cameras, we're just going to go into system configuration. General, we're going to get the time zone correct. The time, make sure your DFT is set. You're going to save that. And then we're going to work on adding cameras.
Yeah, I thought perhaps you were gonna go into FTP or upgrade over the network. Is that a possibility?
You can do it with your laptop. For the purpose of this class, we just discussed the simplest way, which is just doing it.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, there's no URL?
No.
Okay.
There's no auto updates, and that's for very good reasons, reliability. If a DVR or NVR auto updates itself and there's an incident, and the upgrade didn't take for whatever reason, we're liable for that. Problem.
Sorry, there's absolutely no way you can hook your DVR up to the network and go just from the DVR level to search for updated firmware, and then it's not going to pull it. Okay.
Okay, the next step is we're going to introduce cameras to the system. So when I introduce cameras, what's going to happen, I'm going to plug the camera in, it's going to link up to the recorder and say, hey, I need an IP address, and I need to be activated, okay? In the 9600 series recorders, like the 9616, the higher end, the one with the 2 NIC ports, what happens there is you're basically, the way I prefer to do it, there's a LAN 1 and a LAN 2. What I do is I set my network interfaces to multi-address. I'll link LAN 1 to the customer's network, to their router. LAN 2, I'll put out to my security network. So the security network is completely separated from the customer's network. That way they're not calling you up and saying, your cameras are messing up my network, my printer, my this, my that, my iPhone. You don't have that problem when you isolate the security network, okay? Make sense?
You're gonna have 2 different routers, and one router.
No. LAN 1 goes to the router. All the cameras sit behind. So in this, we have a built-in 4-channel switch. That's its own network. It's its own separate network from the LAN port. The LAN port goes to the recorder. In the 9600 series, you have 2 LAN ports. One goes to the customer network, the other goes to the security camera network. Okay, so jump to camera setup. I'm going to start plugging in my cameras. It may start beeping at me because it's not recording automatically. But can anyone guess the next step after plugging in cameras? What might that be? What do we check first with the recorder?
Check the firmware on it.
That's a good idea. I do that just to keep it from beeping at us. But yes, the system will beep at me until all the cameras are booted up because there's a recording exception on this. Because the camera connected, no recording as the camera's booting. So you don't really have to do this step. I just do it because I like to avoid that little beep as much as I can. But the next step is once your cameras come online, again, in the IP world, cameras have firmware. So we have to check that the firmware on the cameras are up to date. Normally on jobs, you'll either have all the same camera or you'll probably have, all the same indoor camera, all the same outdoor camera, and maybe a few PTZs thrown in. So that being the case, if you have all the same cameras, it's real simple. If you're all value, if you're all 3 megapixel zones, it's the same firmware. 3 megapixel turrets with the same firmware as the dome. You'll see on Tech.Hikvision USA, there's only one firmware for basically the whole family. When you get into specialty cameras like this fisheye, for instance, you're going to have a different firmware for that you might have to use. So that being the case, I scroll all the way over to the right over here, I can see the firmware built into the cameras. If they're out of date, based on what's available on tech.hikvisionusa.com, you'll download the necessary updates to upgrade cameras. If you have all the same, you're just going to select the box at the top here, select upgrade. It's going to say the cameras are going to reboot post-update. Yes, you throw your USB in with the necessary firmware, browse to the directory where you saved it, and select upgrade. You can do them all at once. Any questions about that?
I think you have network. What are kind of the idea already? What's the issue to connect with a network straight to the site? To the Hikvision site and download there? Why do I have to go to a separate
What does it do with automatic? We just discussed that.
No. When you go to your network right now, right? You're already on the network. Set up already. So why don't when I do the camera?
Let me make it real simple. We don't do any automatic updates.
No, that's not right. If you're going manually into the system, you're pulling off the internet and giving it to them.
We don't do that.
Curious about it?
Yeah. Any questions about camera firmware updates? No? Good? Okay.
Oh, one question though,
Yeah.
about activation.
Sure.
On some software, I noticed it says first time activation or whatever, there's a checkbox, it's not there.
On
On some of the, Hikvision software.
when you say software, you're referring to 4200 or?
I'm not sure what version it is.
Yeah, I would give out cards if you
Yeah.
give me an email if you remember.
Okay.
Okay, so our next step, we got our cameras up and running. We got our firmware updated. We're going to go to system configuration. We already have the time set, and the camera's going to sync to those times, right? So we'll walk through the display settings. Some models, based on your customer's requirement, live view requirement is actually part of a job spec. When you say to your customer, how do you intend to view these cameras? That's part of the Q&A session that should happen when you do your initial walkthrough. So if they say, I want 4 cameras on this monitor and 4 different cameras on this monitor, will that work with a 7608 NI E2?
No.
Nope. Because it's synchronous output, meaning the VGA and HDMI put up the same picture. That's a question you got to ask yourself. The I2 actually has independent outputs, meaning the VGA and HDMI can be separate. So if you're not sure about that, first look at the catalog. If you're not sure what the catalog is saying, or you need a question answered, folks here at LTS can probably help you with that. Greg and myself can help you with that as well. Okay? Deciding which recorder works with whatever your customer's requirement is.
And this existing system, and the adding up the feature.
If you're adding monitors, for example,
Yeah.
you could use a decoder. Or you could use a workstation. But it's, it's either the cost of the decoder or the cost of the workstation. And when I say workstation, this isn't a system running Outlook, 35 browser windows, Words with Friends, Solitaire, and whatever else the customer's doing in addition to IVMS 4200. Because 4200 is designed to display video by itself. Why? Because decoding video is one of the most intensive things a PC can do. So when you're trying to view 64 channels at once and play Solitaire and Outlook, not going to have a good day. Anyway, so basically this system has synchronized outputs. If it did not, you would be able to control which monitor displays the menu. And we'll go under live view, we'll go into that a little bit more. If you want to take the password off, which I will now, just in case I talk for an extended period of time, I just hate typing with a mouse, so I turn it off. Network settings. So these are the basics. Hikvision originally had something called HIDNS, which is now a relic of the past. We no longer support that service anymore. Existing accounts where that is set up aren't going away. We're not throwing out the servers or anything like that. You just can't add new accounts. The new service we offer is called HikConnect. It's a cloud-based peer-to-peer service, very simple to use, and it simply involves after you set up your system for DHCP, which will work now. Before, you needed a static IP address, you had to do port forwarding and all that other stuff. You don't have to do that anymore, okay? This makes it real simple. You set DHCP, what's DHCP?
Control protocol.
Awesome, a few people know that. So once you set that, you hit apply. You're gonna go over to platform access, you're gonna enable it. iCloud P2P, okay? The next step is, where's my phone? You're gonna take your customer's phone, you're gonna open up the IVMS 4200 app. I'm sorry, 4500 app. Everyone seen our app? If you haven't, it's available in the App Store. Just search for Hikvision. The light version is for phones. The HD version is for tablets, based on the difference in resolution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Hike Connect section in the phone. If you have your phone out or around, there's an account. You're going to, with your customer email address, create an account. The password probably shouldn't be the same password as their email address. I'd advise not to have that. Once you've created that account, you associate devices with the account. So that account owns the device. So for example, if I were to import this device to customer@yahoo.com, they own it. If you want to have access to it, with your customer's permission, you would log into their account on hike-connect.com. And then you would share it with your commercial, your company name account, mycompany.yahoo.com or whatever, okay? So basically what you're doing, you're creating the customer account in the phone. Once the account's created, there's a little plus button in the upper right-hand corner of the app. You're going to select that. It brings up a little QR scanner. You walk up, you scan the code. Once it's scanned, it's going to ask for this verification code to confirm that you actually own the device. You plug that in, device is imported, no more port forwarding, done deal. Okay? The only real challenge here is the sharing function. So remember, the customer owns the device. It's theirs, they pay for it, I hope, anyway. Once that account is created and you have the device imported into that account, you can go to our the website, hike-connect.com, and what you're doing there is you're going to share. There's a share function built into the web page with your master account for your company. Okay? That make sense?
Should we put it in our master account, the company, and share to the customer?
Well, you could do that. The problem is, with the sharing function, the easiest way is the way I described it. If you have a master account and you had to give that out to anybody else, they suddenly had access to everything. So you can play with it and see how it meets your needs, but my recommendation is just to let the customer own their own device. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit problematic.
Because every time we have a problem, they always call us.
Right, right. So while you're doing your initial setup, what I would do is just, you give them their own login. Once they share the device with you, you're good to go. You have access to it. But I think for legal reasons, it's probably good that they own their own device.
Have to open the new,
There's no port yet, though.
not open, sorry, they use the account, they use the main account.
Okay.
Well, the account that you log in here, the admin Hike12345 I did before, that doesn't change. Okay, the platform access is done through the QR scanning and then the verification. You don't.
Does it ask if the admin? Oh, no more. Oh.
All your management's going to be done, like if you need web access, you're going to do that from the web page. It's a two-step approach. So you're going to log into hike-connect.com, and you're going to have a list of all your devices, shared and the ones owned directly by you. And you click them, so it's a two-step instead of with the old way with DNS. It was customername.hike-online.com, if you remember that way. We still support third-party DNS if you want to use that, like DYN DNS, no IP. The nice thing there, the only reason I'll point that out, is that you can actually initiate some branding. So you can actually register your own domain name, and for the customer to access their account, it would be customer name, yourcompanyname.com, instead of customer name.hikeonline.com or anything like that. So it's a little bit of free advertising there. Not free, but I think it's about $100 a year for 50 or